What's up? It's your boy K, and I'm here with Isaac. Say hi to the people, Isaac.
Hello to the people.
We are back with movie review number 11 over the Marvel film Kraven the Hunter, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven.
Kraven's challenging relationship with his gangster father leads him down a road of vengeance, turning him into the most feared hunter in the world.
Ooh.
Last video, I pre-rated 7.5 out of 10. I'm going to have to stick at my 7.5 out of 10. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, last video, I pre-rated it at an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
And I'm also going to stick with an 8.5 out of 10.
All right.
So I know I like the movie a little bit more than you. And here's why. Okay, my main reason why I really did enjoy this movie was because of the gore aspect that Marvel has brought to its movies.
Okay.
I think Kraven the Hunter, if you were to do a movie like this where he is literally hunting down bad guys and you were like cookie cutting it a little bit, making
That's
it kind
fair.
of soft,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have fit right. So that's kind of what I was like worried about with this movie. And it definitely met my expectations when it comes to the gore.
Okay.
The other thing that I did really like was kind of just the upstart of Kraven the Hunter in the Marvel Universe and like the family dynamics that he goes through to basically make him who he is going to be moving forward. So I really enjoyed the explanation of him becoming really Kraven the Hunter.
So to tag onto that, that's kind of where I was as well. The character himself, I thought he was played pretty well by Aaron Taylor Johnson. I thought he was actually very entertaining to watch. And his character, it just developed throughout the movie, and you got to see everything that he could do, which I didn't, again, I told you in the previous movie, I didn't know much about him. So I really wasn't familiar with his character. But I enjoyed that piece. And then there's a lot of good fight scenes in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is entertaining throughout the entire movie. So there's some fight parts where I'm like, all right, like that was well done.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, the reason why I'm at the 7.5, there's a couple of reasons. One is there's some CGI pieces in it. I know I'm in that mode every time I go in, but the villain of the movie I thought could have been done a lot better. He just looks cheesy when you're looking at him, and it's a cool character, and that's why I was interested in him. I like that. Well, I guess I can say who it is. It's Rhino. I'm interested in that, and I don't know. I thought they could have done him better. There's also some pieces. This is very nitpicky, but you see him climbing on like buildings and walls, and you notice, oh well, he definitely has a harness on him. Like you can't see it, but the way that he climbs, it's like, all right, come on now. I just think there was a few pieces that could have been done better, and then just the plot line was kind of hit and miss. I wasn't in love with the plot line, but there were some pieces I liked.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with, for one, the character of Rhino, in my opinion, played by Alessandro Nivola. I don't necessarily like his acting. I know they probably were trying to make it to where he was like a loser almost and kind of make it a little semi-awkward, but I just didn't really necessarily like his acting. The plot line I didn't necessarily have a problem with because I had the mindset of this being like an upstart film. But one thing I think I'm going to have to disagree with you on, which is kind of strange. You have a lower rating, but you liked the acting of Aaron Taylor Johnson. A lot of the time, I'm not saying he was a bad actor in the movie, but what I will say is he almost seems like someone that they hired for this role because he had a six-pack. Because he was ripped and in shape. His acting aspect of it, I mean, he's Russian, so it's pretty easy to kind of be like bland. But that's kind of how I felt throughout the movie. His acting was just a little bland. He's not Chris Evans with the six-pack, you know. He doesn't have that strong character to him. So definitely there was some parts that I didn't like, but ultimately I do think it was a great movie. So I would definitely encourage people to go see this in the movie theater, right? Right,
Yes.
Isaac?
Yep. Every time we always share it with you. And again, these are the type of movies you want to see in the theater. It's not the same on the TV.
No.
You got to see the big action. You got to see the big characters.
Yep.
It needs to be on the big screen for sure.
Yep. Just like next week when we go back to the big screen.
Yes.
Much anticipation for this movie. we are going to see Mufasa.
Yeah.
So, a lot of expectations behind this film. Obviously, you know, I personally liked the cartoon Lion King more. Maybe that's just my age. I don't know. I grew up watching that cartoon Lion King, and I really felt the emotions behind it. And one thing I didn't like about the live action was the part where Mufasa dies and Simba is there. In the live action version, you didn't even see his tears coming out. And so that's one thing that just stuck with me with that movie. But this is a completely different storyline with Mufasa. This is following Simba's father, obviously, and his childhood growing up in the Pride. So I have lofty expectations behind it. I think I'm going to pre-rate this movie at an 8.5 again.
Okay.
8.5. I think it's going to be a pretty solid movie.
Yep. Well, I 100% agree with you. The cartoon version is by far the best version. Now, when you start recreating stuff, you get to see, like, oh man, this is kind of cool because it's almost coming to life in a different way. But I'm interested in the story of Mufasa. I think that's a very cool idea to show the background of him. So I'm gonna be at an 8 just because I don't know about the whole live action piece. Yeah. But if the plot line is good, I expect my rating to go up.
All right. So there you have it. We're going to see Mufasa next Friday. Make sure to tune into that. So now, let's get into some spoilers.
Yes.
Okay? I just want to start off with, there's one thing that kind of just, I left the movie theater thinking about. The main character, Rhino, he had hired this dude to go take out Kraven. And when they were in the woods, it was to a point, now this is a pretty big spoiler here, where this dude, I believe they called him the Foreigner was his name, which I don't remember him ever being in comic books. Oh. And they really never explained his power that much. I mean, you could kind of see what the result was, but they didn't actually label it out for you. But the thing that really stuck with me is that Rhino's guys walk up on him, and he has Kraven on the ropes, basically about to put the bullet through his head. And he's like, hey, don't worry about it, Kraven's dead. And they're like, all right. So they walk off, and they go back to the truck. And then obviously things turn around, and Kraven gets a little help, and ends up, they kill the dude. But Rhino goes back to his truck. All the men go back to the truck, and they start driving away thinking that Kraven's dead. And the whole time I was thinking, wait, what happened to the Foreigner? Like, they didn't wait on him to get in the car too? Like, how do they know Kraven's dead if the Foreigner never returned back to them? They just expect him to walk off in the woods? Like, he's fine now? So that was one thing.
Interesting. I didn't think about that till now.
That was one thing I was just like, I mean, common sense here. If you wait for the dude to get back to the truck, you can ask him if he got the job done. He never came back to the truck, and y'all just drove off without him and thinking he did the job.
Was there another truck there, though, that he could have taken back? I don't remember that part.
They didn't show an extra truck or anything. There was like a 4-car caravan that just drove away all of a sudden.
Well, probably my favorite part of the movie, that's a really good point, but my favorite part, there's a scene where his brother gets kidnapped, and he's trying to chase that van down, and there's so many parts where he's running through windows, and I don't know, even when I watch movies, I clench up because I'm like, oh man, like the feeling of running through glass and then you're landing on it, and then your feet, like he had bare feet through the entire thing. He ends up catching up to him, and he eventually doesn't get into the van, but that's a really cool part that I thought was really well done. So that was probably my favorite part of the movie, was that chase scene.
Yeah, it was a nice action scene. It kind of reminded me of like Captain America, I believe in like Winter Soldier, when him and Bucky are running through the streets, and it's just like parkour and mayhem and trying to catch one another. It's a nice action piece, I think. Yeah. Good attribute to have to a movie to like this, when there's like super powers involved, super strength, super speed, stuff like that. Yep. So ultimately, pretty good movie. Definitely suggest going to watch it in the movie theaters. Well, that's all we have for this movie review. If you enjoyed our content, please smash that like button. Go ahead and comment in the movie section, or the comment section, what movie you would like us to review for our next fan-selected film. We release those at the beginning of every week. Yep. Go ahead and share this podcast with anyone who may be interested in watching the new Kraven movie, or maybe anyone who just enjoys watching movies, period. And finally, please give us a sub. Our next goal that we are currently trying to reach is 4,000 subs. So we've come a long way already, but we are still aiming forward, continuing to try and grow this podcast. And every sub means a lot, so we'd really appreciate it. That's all we have for tonight. Have a great day.
That's all we have for tonight. Have a great day.
Well, they're probably going to be watching this during the great daytime, so. All right, whatever.
Good enough.